The history books of cycling are littered with tech developments that didn't make the cut. And in this video, I want to remember and celebrate some of the biggest flops we've seen over the years. From early suspension to 2-speed cranks and L-shaped cranks, there are quite a few good ones here. Now, I've only listed 5, but there are many more I could have included, so let me know what I've missed by leaving a comment down below. Before we do dive in, this video is sponsored by Pedalsure, the insurance company that makes it quick, simple and affordable to insure your bike against theft and accidental damage. The website is super easy to use and it takes seconds to get a quote for your road, gravel, mountain or e-bike. And right now, you could stand a chance to get a free hip lock worth £70 if you insure a bike worth £1,500 and pay annually. Find out more details at the link down below. Some cycling websites love to remind us on a very regular basis of the idea of an L-shaped crankset, don't they? But the idea of a bent crankset goes back right to the early days of cycling. And every few decades, it seems, a new bicycle manufacturer comes along with their own take on a bent crankset with lots of claims about how it's better for you than a normal crankset. Apparently, the idea of an L-shaped crank first developed in the 1980s, which at the time must have seemed like an April Fool's, although magazines actually gave them a favourable review. It's all about reducing the dead spot and producing a rounder pedal stroke. Eliminating the dead spot in the pedal cycle at the top and bottom is a problem that various crazy cranks over the years have tried to solve. It's all nonsense, of course. It doesn't matter what shape the crank arm is between the bottom bracket and the pedal axle. It's basically just a lever that you push with your legs. It could be any shape. But cycling is full of harebrained ideas with half-baked science behind them, which leads us on to the next one. Non-round chainrings is another idea that refuses to die away along with L-shaped cranks. Shimano's Biopace is probably the most famous example of a non-round chainring that never caught on despite the Japanese company's best efforts. It's something I'm sure Shimano are too embarrassed to talk about, although some recent studies have shown that maybe the idea wasn't so bad after all. The idea, like those L-shaped cranks earlier, was to improve pedaling efficiency and pedal smoothness. Shimano's Biopace puts a smaller effective chainring where the cranks are in the power phase of the pedal cycle to encourage riders to push bigger gears more easily. Most other more recent non-round chainrings launched with more success turn this idea around, using an increased chainring diameter when the cranks are horizontal, where most power is produced, with a smaller diameter through the so-called dead spot. So where Shimano failed to make a non-round chainring standard, companies like Rotor and Asymmetric have enjoyed limited success in recent years, with the likes of Bradley Wiggins and Chris Froome using them to quite a bit of success. But despite all that, non-round chainrings have failed to replace round chainrings because the benefits, if they are to be believed, are so small as either to not be perceptible or worth the transition upgrade it takes to go from round chainrings to non-round chainrings. Before disc brakes became as popular as they are, rim brakes were the de facto standard, and they're very simple. A rim brake caliper, a metal cable, and a brake lever. It couldn't be easier. But there have been various attempts to replace that metal cable with a hydraulic hose. Magura used to be big in the mountain bike world back in the 90s before disc brake tech really matured to completely wipe them out. But where Magura enjoys some success in the mountain bike world, the same can't be said for the road bike world. They had limited success and popularity with time trial hydraulic rim brakes on a Cervelo, but that was about it. SRAM tried to bring the tech to the road bike market more recently, and it might have been the next big evolution for rim brake technology. On paper, the idea is sound, because it's an easier upgrade to existing rim brake bikes with a decent step up in braking power. But we'll never know if they would have caught on because disc brakes were being rapidly developed at the same time and took off a lot more quickly as they offer the same benefits but solve some of the issues a rim brake never could, that being better tyre clearance and performance in bad conditions. The group set or a drivetrain on a road bike has changed a heck of a lot in the 100 plus years since a safety bicycle had a single chainring and a single sprocket on the back and a fixed gear. These days we have multiple options, 1, 2, 3 chainrings on the front and up to 13 sprockets on the back, and one by a single chainring on the front where wide range cassette is very popular at the moment. And for the most part, we take the group sets on offer now for granted, and we enjoy all the benefits of each new group set. So more gears, better efficiency, better reliability, lower weight, and lots of other tech and development. But over the years, there have been some very interesting and very radical developments that could have totally changed the landscape in the group set world. And one that really stands out for me is the SRAM Hammerschmidt from about 10 years ago. The amusingly named Hammerschmidt was a 2-speed crankset that on paper looked like the solution for modern bikes and a death knell for front mechs. I remember seeing it at a trade show over 10 years ago and being wowed by its potential. But it never caught on, and most people watching this probably never seen one before, let alone heard about one. The idea was simple, a crankset with 2 planetary gears that can be instantly engaged and disengaged to offer 2 speeds in one compact design. The main benefit it offered is getting away from 2 separate chainrings and a front mech. It was originally developed for mountain bikes, but there's no reason why tech couldn't have been adapted for road and gravel bikes at the time. The system had other benefits too. It was totally sealed from the element, the chainline was optimised to avoid chain rub, and shifting was instant. However, the system was cursed by increased friction and drag. It was heavy, over 1.5 kilograms for the original version, and it was expensive. While many at the time would love the idea, myself included, it never caught on against the rise of one-by drivetrains with massive cassettes. The idea lives on though in a recently launched classified gear hub, which takes the same concept of 2 speeds but puts it inside the rear hub. Suspension might be standard on modern mountain bikes these days, but the same can't be said about road bikes, but it's not for the lack of trying. Gravel bikes might be bringing suspension back to drop bar bikes at the moment, but pioneers like Bianchi, Cannondale and RockShox were dabbling with suspension on road bikes way back in the 1990s. And with some success. In 1992, a modified RockShox suspension fork, the Mag 21, was ridden to victory over the cobbles of the Hell of the North, Paris-Roubaix. Full suspension came a few years later with the iconic Bianchi, the Italian company a real innovator at the time. Unfortunately though, the bike, despite impressing in the early stages of the race, and almost certain victory with Johan Museeuw, snapped. Apparently a disagreement between the frame designer and the factory around the use of aluminium instead of chrome moly rear stays. And with this snapping, the fate of suspension road bikes was pretty much sealed. Despite this early setback, other companies were intent on making suspension on road bikes a viable technology. Cannondale crammed their unique head shock into a Silk Road, while Trek dabbled with soft tail suspension on its OC LV frames with quite a high profile failure when George Hincapie crashed on the cobbles. Still, despite those early successes and early innovations, suspension on drop bar bikes hasn't gone the same way it has on mountain bikes. But now, with a raft of new developments in the gravel sector, could we see road bike suspension 2.0 become a thing? Well, time will tell, definitely one to watch this space on. Those then are 5 of the more interesting, to me at least, tech developments that never made the cut or saw the light of day. And if they had, they might have changed cycling in a way we can't even imagine right now. Now I know, I'm pretty certain there are many more tech flops that I could have included in this video, so let me know which are your favourites, but leave a comment down below. Alright, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again very soon.